Unfortunately, we probably need to go ahead and hit the breaking news. We will. There it is. And Scotty, if you want to grab that tweet from Thamel, we could certainly put that up there at some point. But as we had taped Scott earlier today, and we're sharing that with you. And fortunately, we had not run away from our post. And it is now Pete Thamel of ESPN.com has, according to sources reporting, Baylor is expected to soon announce. There it is. Thank you, Scotty. The departure of Athletic Director Mack Rhoades. He's on leave from the school for personal reasons, and the sides are planning to announce he's stepping away immediately. I think hopefully what this means is that it's been an amicable. I would have to surmise by this that this is not. He didn't get fired for cause. They found a way to agree on some settlement for the rest of his contract, and this again will getting ready to announce it'll happen immediately. Thamel, sometimes a university will just go ahead and put it out there. And I mean, I don't know who knows how he got it. Somebody leaked it or whatever, but I would imagine a statement will be forthcoming from Baylor, and I would not think it's. I think it would be from a statement coming from President Linda Livingstone. If you're watching us out there on Twitter, we appreciate it. We apologize, because Scott said some pretty interesting things today about Tunde, comparing him to one of Baylor's all-time great defensive players. I thought that was very interesting. What we'll do is we'll play Scott in its entirety tomorrow. And we'll do that, I don't know, around 2:00 perhaps. Because I want to get all that out there. This also, Scotty, gives us an opportunity. We'll check in on Baylor soccer to see how they're doing. Give that a peek, Scotty, if you don't mind. I'm very curious because they are in that NCAA tournament. But the big news today, as we just broke in to let you know, we had to break into a Scott Drew interview. Again, we'll get that whole interview to you tomorrow, but we needed to go live and react to this. So we love having the capability of being able to do that. Mack Rhoades' time as the Baylor AD, as we thought was going to happen, is coming to an end. I had been tipped off that this was going to maybe happen pretty quickly. I thought maybe by tomorrow. It happened by today. All right. And Baylor will have an official announcement coming out soon. The whole thing, everybody's reaching out right now to Baylor to see, do you confirm this report? I suppose I could do that right now, but the truth is Pete Thamel's not going to do this if it's untrue. He's not going to be out there with that report. So here it is. We are reacting to it, Scotty and I, live on the Matt Mosley Show on the Rogue Media Network. It's unfortunate. It's not what I expected to be doing. I had hoped Mack Rhoades, he's done a lot of great things at Baylor. I know because of the way the football program was performing, because of the way it was turning out with Dave Aranda, people, were sour with Mack. There'll be more time to talk about sort of his legacy, what he's done. I mean, he inherited an unbelievable scandal and a mess, and really helped Baylor, and he was respected enough that they made him the spokesperson and the chairperson of the College Football Playoff Committee. This guy had huge respect across the country. He just, the thing with Trigg, that was a bad thing. More allegations of whatever happened in the workplace in terms of verbal abuse, at least according to Outkick. And, of course, a lot of their stuff had not been at all pushed back on by Baylor. Baylor did not dispute any of the facts from what they reported. And then this latest thing, which was an allegation that came in on a Monday, apparently he still represented the university in the college football playoff that following Tuesday. By Wednesday, he was taking a leave of absence. Now, I say Wednesday. That actually came out, I believe, on Thursday, because on Wednesday night, he was supposed to have a dinner with some big-time Baylor donors and supporters, and they were going to sit down and just have dinner together and talk about things. And then that was called off last Wednesday night. By Thursday, he was taking a leave of absence. Most of you have kind of heard, it's an unfortunate personal thing that happened. I think sadly, it was not anything alleged to have happened to any student with student athletes or any employee of Baylor, but it's something that happened, and it's extremely unfortunate. And I don't know how. Baylor found out because somebody told them about it. I don't think, and I'm sure Mack had to say, yes, this is true or whatever, but it's been reported as something that occurred that went against Baylor's faith-based policies, kind of like what you'd call like a morals clause or whatever. And again, you don't have to look that hard out there to find what it might be, but I'm not going to get into all that because some of that stuff is not firmly reported. It's just obviously something came out and he got involved in something that has ended in his career ending at Baylor. And so I expect an announcement from Baylor pretty quickly. In fact, Scotty, as you and I sit here and talk, I was just going to make sure we didn't have something from Baylor. In fact, that if Baylor's putting a statement together, that would be something that Jason Cook, who's head of chief financial officer, chief marketing officer is what I meant to say, CMO. That's something that he and President Livingstone. Now, what does this mean? What does this mean? Mack is out. We kind of knew it was headed this way. Well, it means that you can start your AD search now. All right. That there was the holdup of needing to get this settlement, need to figure this out. Mack's leaving. They'll continue to work on that. To me, it sounds somewhat amicable that's happening. And now the short list we've been talking about that you're hearing names. And hey, I'm not the only one who's put these names out here. I've seen it on Siegmund 365. I happen to know all three of these names that are being mentioned, and I'm sure there will be more. But any sort of short list that would be put together for Baylor to be looking at Jeremiah Dickey was here. He was the deputy athletic director. He was beloved by pretty much everybody at Baylor. Yes, he had been with Mack. Yes, he's also his own man, and incredible family guy. Huge. His Christian faith is very much at the forefront of his life. I can't speak to that really with some of these other candidates. Jared Mosley played basketball at ACU. He'd be the tallest AD in the country, already is. He's at UNT now as the athletic director. He's about 6'8" or 6'9". He's a man of faith. He's very open with his faith. He probably couldn't be quite as open as his faith at a state school like UNT. Same thing at West Virginia with Ren Baker. I think Ren Baker is a man of faith. I think he'd be a very inspired choice. I think he's done a good job. I think he's already had to hire 2 basketball coaches because one got hired from Indiana. He's already had to hire a football coach there. I mean, he's been doing that. Jeremiah Dickey had to fire a coach. He brought in an interim, and then the interim was unbelievable in the last 3 or 4 games of that season, and they ended up making him the full-time coach at Boise State. Spencer Danielson is his name. Would that guy be a possible candidate for Baylor's head coaching? Why not? I mean, he's been great. I mean, they went to the college football playoff. I mean, he's part of a staff that recruited Ashton Genty out there to who's now with the Raiders' first-round pick. So, I mean, absolutely, that's somebody you should be thinking about or looking at. I mean, the thing about getting an AD in place quickly, efficiently, and hopefully a great one. And Here's what I'll tell you too, Scotty, is that Baylor has people know was about to happen. They knew Mack was out, right? So Baylor has already been hearing from incredible candidates. All right, that process had already started. So this is again, we knew it was blowing this direction. Always a little sad and strange for it to have happened. He will leave immediately. So Mack Rhoades' time away ends, whatever settlement he has with the university, he'll move on about his business, and we hope and wish him the best and hope he gets his life together. And, in time, if Mack, would be open to coming on, I'd love to have him on. And I would ask him a lot of questions. I would ask him some tough questions, and I would be very respectful, and I would act like the friend that I have been to him. So, but there would be questions that need to be asked, and we certainly would ask all those questions. So there you go. It has happened. Mack Rhoades out as Baylor AD. An announcement will be forthcoming. So none of this surprises anybody. Again, this is according to Pete Thamel. Baylor is expected to soon announce the departure of Athletic Director Mack Rhoades. He's on leave from the school for personal reasons, and the sides are planning to announce he's stepping away immediately. Boy, this has happened. It's happened in a hurry. He goes on, by the way, to say Rhoades has been the AD there since July of 2016. Also left his role as a chair of college football playoff. He's a veteran AD who stops at Missouri, Houston, and Akron. His tenure includes hiring Matt Rhule and 8 national titles. Whoa. Including one in men's hoops. All right. I think that would be all those acro and tumbling national titles are including, and which is fine. That's fine. I mean, that's a great thing that Baylor's able to do. But at first I was like, what are they talking about? But yes, I think that would be that. Man, we just had Scott Drew on with us, and he was talking about, because I was kind of like, hey, y'all have had, who knows what's going to happen, but you guys obviously had a really good relationship. What has he meant to you, I think is what I asked. And he basically said that he was great to him and that they won a championship together, and had very kind things to say about him, as you would think. From my perspective, I could get him on. I mean, like, I should have known something even bigger was happening. Like, I don't think he did my show or Smokey's show all fall. So obviously stuff was going on behind the scenes. We just didn't know it. I did get tipped off by a scout at this sideline thing, but the way they explained it was kind of like he hollered at a guy and blah, 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 and I didn't really think it was that big of a deal. Obviously, I probably should have dug in a little bit more considering what we know now. I just had a great, it's a rough deal. I mean, Kim left. She was lover or hate or whatever. She was a force of nature. Some people probably viewed that as a failing on his part. Some people viewed it as a good thing. A lot of people, especially Baylor administration, were very tired of Kim. She's gone on, won a national title at LSU. I can be, just in being totally candid with you, like, the level of dislike between those human beings is totally mutual. He cannot stand her. She cannot stand him. They needed to be away from each other, and now they are. And they were these last couple of years, since she's been to LSU. I'm just saying that's part of his legacy. Now, Nikki Collin is now their number 7 in the country. They play tonight. Like, she's doing a nice job. So that'll be part of his legacy too. The good and the bad. The Matt Rhule thing was a good hire. The Aranda thing was just kind of I don't know. It's hard to beat him up too badly because it made total sense at the time. It turned out Aranda was very bad at portal, very bad at NIL, wasn't ready for it. And by the way, Mack is going to deserves criticism for that too. It wasn't just Dave. Dave took a lot of the heat, but it just was a perfect storm. They didn't do a great job. They tried to kind of do it. Hey, we're going to do it the Baylor way. They were slow at it, and then they had to play catch up. And they bounced back to a certain extent from it, but certainly not all the way. You need AD with a great NIL portal strategy. You need head coach, great in front of the media, great with the fan base, great NIL, great. Aranda, he's not that guy. Like, now the only way Aranda keeps his job, maybe if he wins these last 2 games and the new AD says, hey, let's give him 1 year, kind of like what Ren Baker did at West Virginia with Neil Brown. That could possibly happen. But here we are, and it happened on our watch, and we normally would never interrupt an interview with Scott Drew, but we had taped it earlier in the day. And what we will do, because all of that information will hold up. It's not like they play tonight or even tomorrow. They don't play till Monday in Las Vegas against Creighton, and then the next day they play against St. John's. We'll run the whole thing tomorrow. It'll be fine. That'll be fine. But this was important enough. We needed to break in, and we needed to sound off on this. Scotty, jump on here with me if you can. I would just say, and I don't know, you may jump on, do your own emergency podcast. Please bear with me. And I know you and Ganaway will have thoughts moving forward on this, but I just kind of think, man, it's a bummer. It's a sad day. But the way it was headed, it needed to happen. It did not need to linger. We all kind of knew it was going to happen, so it needed to happen in a hurry. This says to me, good, amicable type, hopefully parting of ways. Max out, and you got to go run an AD search, and you got to have an AD in here by the time this football season ends. And when U of H shows up here in a couple of weeks, and you got that game, I'm not saying you have to have already told Dave Aranda something, but you better be able to act, and you better make a decision after that game, and you better have an AD in place ready to go. Linda Livingstone is running point. We got great people that are on the Board of Regents that will step in and assist her. Jovan will help. Chad will help. These are really, really Chad is an old assistant AD. Cody Hall is who I mean. Cody Hall and Jovan will do they'll do a nice job of helping out. But make no mistake, it is Linda Livingstone with the help of probably some key figures that are the Board of Regents, and maybe some of our huge donors will advise her, but she will be acting and she will be making these decisions. Scotty, my feelings, as I just shared, sadness, relief. Baylor can move forward in this messy, weird time that has cropped up since last week. Maybe we can start kind of thinking about a future, thinking about maybe a new football coach, and thinking about what the deal. But today I do want to stress, Mac was great to me. We had a really good relationship. He got mad at me at times, and I'm not saying I didn't deserve it. He was very direct, but I enjoyed a very good relationship with him, and he basically came on with me anytime I needed him. And this year was an aberration, and now we kind of know why, because there was stuff going on behind the scenes. Scotty, I thought it was something I had done, which is a lot of times a pretty good guess, right? I thought it was my fault, and it turns out that there was a bunch of stuff we didn't know about going on behind the scenes. Scotty, where is your as we get ready to kind of wrap our show up today? Where's kind of your mind and thoughts on all of this with Mac? Scotty, I'm not hearing you. Hey, buddy. Scotty, I'm not hearing you. Okay, sorry. I was making sure you okay. We're going to try to get Scotty powered up here.
How's that?
Okay, now I got you.
Perfect. Hey, we need to update everybody. Scotty B's been providing a little play-by-play in the chat. Thank you, sir. Baylor soccer's up 1-0 at half over Wisconsin.
Yes.
I saw it happen. Stat tracker. Scotty B put it in the chat here. 4 saves for Baylor's keeper Alvarez. Outstanding game for her. 1-0 on a penalty kick. Baylor soccer is up. So we will be rooting for Michelle Leonard's squad in the second half. Matt, the timing of this separation, and I resonate with what you said about Mack's legacy. I don't know him personally, so I don't have the personal feelings on it like you do. I would say I'm optimistic. I'm optimistic because the speed at which this has happened tells me there is an urgency to move forward, particularly with the football program. I will not be reacting to this on Please Bear With Me until Sunday because I want to hear some more. But what I will tell you, Matt, and I shared it this morning, so I'm not doing anything wildly breaking here, but it's fun when you work in a fine dining restaurant. You never know who's going to walk in and tell you some things. I heard on Monday night that Baylor is very confident that this will go quickly, and they have a very good idea of who this next AD will be. I think we may find that out as quickly as early next week. I think this is going to be quick, mostly because we've both acknowledged, and you just said it, they need someone who can, as soon as 10 days from now, be ready to find a new football coach. And so I think, Smokey tweeted that the Board of Regents had already planned to meet today at 4 to move on this. I think there will be an offer in place this weekend. I think Baylor will have a new AD early next week. I'm sure you will get some texts and phone calls, and maybe we can come back to that tomorrow. I also know, and this is maybe a conversation to have 2 weeks from now. I have it. I got a text today from someone I trust, and I will be vague to protect the people. There are at least 2 high-profile former Baylor football players who are very interested in some kind of Andrew Luck type general manager role over personnel within the football program.
Okay.
I think one of those football players has said as much publicly.
Yeah.
And it would not be hard to find. The other one has not said so publicly, but has said so privately. Mm-hmm. I do not know that that is the best direction for a program to go. I do not know that Baylor would go in that direction. But just know, as we're talking about a new AD, and as we're talking about potentially in 10 days, a new football coach, there are some high-profile Baylor football people who want to be involved with this decision. It will be really interesting. This is going to be fun to track, Mosley, in the next 2 weeks, whose voices kind of get worked in here, what figures might want to step in and have a say in this. And with NIL and money considerations, their voices might carry some weight. So I'm kind of excited to follow the rumors and the leaks and whatever the next 2 weeks. And it's going to be fun. So I'll be the optimist. I am excited to see the speed at which this is happening, and I hope that is good news for the football program.
Yeah, and the thing you can't do though is muddy the waters. The one thing that will scare away AD candidates is if they get the feeling, first of all, you don't have that Baylor doesn't have NIL figured out, one. Or right. 2, that Baylor wants them to that and I don't think Baylor's going to do this. But to your point of what you just said, if they said, "Hey, we'd kind of like you to think about so and so to be your GM, and he's a big name, and we think people like that can scare candidates off quicker than anything." Sure. All right, because they've run their programs one way, and they know what they want to do, and they'll have a plan for NIL and all that they want to do, and they, I promise you, don't want to be told. Now, the great thing about people like Jeremiah Dickey, if he ends up on the short list, is that he knows not only does he have a plan because he's been doing it at Boise State. Let's not act like Boise State just had this incredible NIL situation from day one. He had to build it. He had to get people going. But I'll say this, he has an attitude of like, Baylor has plenty of graduates and successful people. If you know where to look for it and you know how to ask for it, it's out there. So any thought, well, these people are tapped out, or our people that I've been reading some of that, okay, at different places, our people are tapped out. There may be some that are. I get that. Okay, guess who else is tapped out? Cody Campbell's sick of it. Now, does he ever stop spending at Texas Tech? No. Is he tapped out? He kind of. He feel like that's part of the reason he's doing all this stuff with like Congress, and he's sick of having to bankroll this whole thing on his own. But now that doesn't mean he won't stop, that he's going to stop doing it. But he doesn't want to keep doing this time, year after year after year. So, yeah, it'll be, but all those things are interesting, and there'll be plenty of things to kind of work through and walk through. The thing I can promise you is I know how to protect certain candidates. So, I'll give you as much information as I can, but I think we'll kind of know where things are going, how things are moving, is anything happening, and it'll be fine. But make no mistake, Baylor, this is kind of how this thing will work today. And I keep looking to make sure they haven't come out with an official statement. But somebody from Baylor, in the past, Thamel, I think would hear from, I won't get into it, but yes, not shocking that something that has to do with Mack Rhoades, that Pete Thamel would be on it, is all I'll say on that front. I think that, let me look at my email real quick because something would pop in if Baylor sent something out. All right, just wanted to make sure there wasn't a document or a press release from Baylor. It may be being crafted as we speak. And it may be if the, the executive, I'm trying to think if the executive committee, when they're supposed to be meeting. Okay, so he reported that maybe there was already a previously scheduled thing at 4. Well, that's convenient. You can give them an update, let them know what's happening. I will say, let me give you one kind of reminder, I don't know if I've said this on here before, about Baylor's Board of Regents. Unlike LSU and some other places, not that they don't sort of act alone like some of these. Now, there are too many of them. There's whereas the Texas A&M system or the UT system, let's say they have maybe 15 or something, or most places have somewhere in that range, 10 to 15. Baylor has 34 or 35. Okay, that's too many. I even think probably some people on the board would admit that. It's too kind of unwieldy but President Livingstone is doing a good job of keeping everybody together, and there will be some key people on that. And you go, remind me who's the chairman or the chairperson of the Board of Regents? Well, his name is Bill Mears, like Mearse, I believe. The reason you never hear about him is because he's probably never been in front of a camera representing Baylor. Baylor wants its AD and president and those folks out representing. They rarely send the board members out. So anything you hear from the Board of Regents will come through a carefully crafted message, which is really kind of coming more out of the president's office. Bill Mears, I'd be really shocked if we heard from him through this. Who knows? Maybe, but he is, for the most part, kind of, he's not a guy I think would want to be out front on this. All right. And so we'll see who all's involved, how quickly this search goes. That sounds a little quick to me, Scotty. I would say And I'm not saying you're not hearing that, and maybe it will. I mean, I could be totally wrong, and they'll have somebody by Monday or Tuesday. I would say they'll take a full week to really vet some people. I don't think there'll be a whole big, like, oh, let's hire a firm. There are people on the inside at the athletics department, by the way, one in particular, who worked for one of those firms for like 20 years, who could help them in that regard. All right. So they have people that know how that whole world works. I would think from an optics standpoint, you would at least take a week and then you just be ready to go with someone, right? I mean, you kind of need to have somebody though in place before that Houston game ends. You don't really want to be out there with your whole recruiting class like, what's going on? What do we got? I mean, Scotty, when's recruiting? When's that early recruiting period, the big day? Is that December 3rd or 6th? What is that big day? Anyway, that's a very important time. I mean, you got to, I mean, you're trying to, most of these recruits, now again, some of them can wait until the February signing period that we got so used to over the years, but that December signing period is when like 90% of high school athletes are making their decisions and signing.
December 17th.
17th. Thank you, sir.
So ideally, you like well before then would need to have a football coach and a plan in place to try to keep as much as this 26 class together as you can.
Correct. And there might even be, to your point there might even be, you think about who they kept when Matt Rhule left. Joey was an important keep. There were a couple of others they were trying to hold on to. This probably would be a very smart time to, if you think Dallas and Keenan, like that new coach he's not only has to hit the ground running, but he has to talk to this staff in a hurry. And there are some members of that staff, including Keenan in Dallas, maybe even Jared Anderson, but there are some people that you might want to hold on to that could help you hold on to that class. And for starters, whoever your person is that seems to have the closest relationship with all these Waco area kids, that was an important thing that Aranda's staff had done. Now, I say all this knowing something crazy could happen and Baylor could win its last 2 games. And then you have a very awkward and odd situation because you're going to have your new AD and then he's got to decide, do I want to hire a person or do I want to give this guy one more crack at it, support him at least for a year and see where it goes? Wow. Lots happening, and we're glad. We love having Scott on, and we'll have Scott Drew on again tomorrow, but love that we were able to break in and get that breaking news to you live. And again, I'm looking to see about oh my gosh, Scotty, you can imagine how many calls and texts I'm getting and all that kind of stuff. But anyway, I mean, some of the questions I'm getting, oh my, and a lot of it's from like old, longtime sports writing buddies. I think the most popular question right now is like, what did Matt do? And I've tried to just address it without addressing it, and maybe more will come out on it. But I just think right now we got to think about Mac and his family and how they've been impacted. And obviously it was enough that this needed to happen and they needed to part ways. And it's extremely unfortunate because he built up a great reputation. And it's a reminder that, man, for our kids and all of us, we can spend all this time doing all this great stuff and developing this great reputation. And then, one mistake can bring it all crumbling down. Now, that said, the next part of that story is, let's hope he's got another chapter left in him. I mean, I know if I'm sitting out there and I'm in another place. Yeah, you probably wouldn't want to hire him immediately, right? But, at some point he'll be able to tell his story, and he'll be able to, he is extremely respected in the community. So if the question you're asking me is, should Mack Rhoades get to come back from this? Absolutely. Absolutely. But I think sometimes we look through things through the prism of like, well, the guy from 10 years ago, the coach who got fired, did not get to continue his career as we knew it. He got to go coach at a high school or something, but his career was basically over. I don't think Max is, but Max 60 years old, and Max probably with this settlement Max made great money, and I bet he's put a lot of it away. He doesn't have to work anymore, I would think. So he can do what he wants to do. I think he would be a wealth of information for whatever school or whoever wanted to tap into Max, mind. But again, sad day. It's sad. And yet I understand why a lot of Baylor people are like, okay, we've got closure there. I get all that. Because I know him, I just can't quite get to like, okay, great, here's our cert, let's do it. I mean, like today to me has to be a little bit about, this is a really sad thing. And then we'll be dealing with that. Listen, tomorrow's show, there'll be a lot of this, may bring in some guests to kind of talk about how all this will go. Should I bring in one of the AD candidates? I don't know if I should or not. But it'll be interesting to see how this unfolds. But appreciate you. And we went a little bit longer today because we felt like this deserved some special coverage. And we broke into the great Scott Drew's interview. Again, we'll play the interview in its entirety. We had to break in 2 minutes after this report, and Scotty and I are like, we gotta jump in here and talk about this. But all of Scott Drew's interview will play tomorrow, heading into Monday's action as the Baylor plays at 1:00. And then, as Scotty said, Baylor up over Wisconsin. The last update we got at halftime in the NCAA soccer tournament. I think they call this like the College Cup or something. That might be when it gets to the Final Four. But the NCAA soccer tournament women's tournament is underway. We always just say soccer because Baylor doesn't have a men's program. But it is Baylor's up 1-0, penalty kick. Bears goal, their keeper, as Scotty said, Azul is her name. She's a good one. And she already has 4 saves. She's great line of defense back there. So anyway, there you go. Follow us on Twitter. I'll have more updates throughout the afternoon. I'll react to things. I'll be sharing all kinds of things. But we wanted to jump back on the show and do some extra time for you as we react to Mack Rhoades' tenure at Baylor looking reportedly coming to an end. And I do think we'll have a statement from Baylor before the end of the day. And, still waiting on all of that.